Joining us now is Christina Niven, Vice President of YogaBC. Hi there, Christina.
Hi.
Now, our couple that we're featuring this week, Chris and Sally, they came upon yoga relatively late in life, and I would imagine for anybody doing that, an opportunity like YogaBC would be a pretty useful resource. Maybe we can start by talking about your organization, and then we can get into a whole bunch of other aspects of why do yoga.
YogaBC is the association in British Columbia that is intended to support yoga teachers and yoga studios. So one of the things that we do is we're really trying to raise the bar in terms of quality of teaching in British Columbia. And if someone were interested in getting into yoga, what I would suggest is if they wanted to get an idea of, how to look for a teacher or any, we can't specifically recommend teachers, there are so many, but we can certainly give some guidelines of what to look for in terms of a teacher.
So for Chris and Sally, waking up one day and saying, okay, it's time to take on a yoga practice, what sorts of things would they ideally have gone through in order to find their way to a good studio and a good teacher, and there's so many different kinds of yoga too, determining, I guess part of it is what's down the street?
There's so many yoga studios nowadays. A lot of people like to go and sample, and that's what I usually recommend. Like if someone comes to me and says, I'm curious to learn about yoga, I'm like, okay, well, go and try a few different classes because there are many different styles, and usually a studio will have a description of the type of style. So it's good to kind of know, what you're looking for. If you're looking for something more physically vigorous or something more relaxing. And another thing to consider is if someone wants to try yoga and they have, say, a history of injury or something like that, I think it's really important to talk to the teacher beforehand or even call the studio, because injuries do happen in yoga, and unfortunately the yoga world is not regulated, so teachers, there's a vast range in terms of expertise. And I think for people who are quite healthy and don't have injuries, don't have to be as discerning. But as our bodies age, as we deal with injuries or restrictions, we need to be more discerning and cognizant of what we're doing and the classes we're going to.
I think for a lot of us who are getting on the mat for the first time, you sort of take a look in the mirror or see, you're having trouble touching your toes, and you sort of get defeated and think, oh, I don't know if I'm wanting to go down this path or not. It all seems too overwhelming. So you probably have a few other words of wisdom about how a North of 49er embarks upon a practice and then hopefully builds on it so they stay with it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up. One of my teachers, her name's Joya Irwin. She's here in Vancouver, or actually on the West Coast. She's in her 50s now and has been teaching for a long time. And one thing that she talks about is it's not the end pose. It's really the journey, and it's the experience of doing the practice. And it doesn't matter how far you go. And especially she's finding as her body is aging, she's like, go to 70%. Don't go to 100%, because at 70%, it's just so much. It feels better. It feels, the energy can flow in the body, and the body feels nourished rather than strained and drained. And I think that that's a really important piece. And in our culture, we're so goal-oriented that I want to touch my toes, or I want to do that crazy back bend. And that's not what it's about. It's so much about the quality of the experience and the quality of the practice.
So one of the things I'm really hearing you say, and this is such a useful gem to understand for people that are starting a practice, is while this is a physical activity, it goes beyond that and should be approached as such.
Right, absolutely. It's life-changing in all aspects. And I see practicing on the yoga mat as a metaphor for life. And how we approach our yoga practice is often how we approach life. And to be able to connect with a person and just be in the moment and just be here and be in your body, be in your feelings. So it is certainly far more than a physical practice. And what I find often interesting is people come to it for the physical benefits, and then they find that something in them opens, and they find there's so much more that they never would have imagined. And the benefits, you know, it's just to look at the physical for a second. I mean, the benefits of doing yoga north of 49 are so worth it for decades to come. And you know, you see people in their 80s and 90s with walking and walkers, and they can hardly move their legs. And I swear, if they had started to do yoga or a similar type of routine, they probably wouldn't be in those walkers. So just even on the physical level alone, it's such a worthwhile thing to do.
This is really inspiring and great and useful information. Christina Niven, Vice President of YogaBC, thank you.
North of 49, a guide to the rest of your life.